You know, they say you've made it as an artist when you make the CBC Morning News, whether for your success or your passing. And CBC broadcast that nationwide to its 41 million listeners today, gave great respect to this superb guitarist, member of the Booker T. the MGs, member of the Blues Brothers house band, and really gave it soul and did a great uh, version of Stand By Your Man in the 1980 Blues Brothers movie. So we are saddened to say the great Steve Cropper has passed away. Sometimes known as the Colonel, he was American guitarist, songwriter, and record producer. He was a guitarist of the Stax Records house band, Booker T and the MGs, which backed artists such as Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Sam and Dave, Carla Thomas, Rufus Thomas, and Johnny Taylor. He also acted as producer for many of these hit records. He was later a member of the Blues Brothers band. Rolling Stone magazine threw him great respect a few years ago when ranked him 36 on the list of the 100 greatest guitarists, while he won 2 Grammy Awards from his 7 nominations. Now, born in Dora, Missouri, beautiful community, he was raised there in West Plains before moving with his family to Memphis at age 9. In Memphis, he was exposed to black church music, which had an impact on him musically. Cropper acquired his first guitar at age 14, and of course, rest is history. Now, he grew up in the rock and roll era, listening to all the great artists that influenced him and boys that showed his music. He admired guitarists including Tal Farlow, Chuck Berry, Jimmy Reed, Chet Atkins, Lowen Pauling of the Five Royals, Earl Kate of the Kate Brothers Band, and Billy Butler and the Bill Doggett Band. Now, Cropper guitarist Charlie Freeman formed the Royal Spades, who eventually became the Marquis. The name referred to the marquee outside Stax Studios, known as Satellite Records at the time. Eventually, the Marquis began playing on sessions, and they had a hit single of their own with Last Night in '61. Besides being impressed with young guitarists playing, Stax Records president Jim Stewart saw a pro of professionalism and maturity behind Cropper's young years. When American Records founder Chris Moman left Stax, Cropper became the company's A&R man. He became a founding member of the Stax house band, Booker T and the MGs, along with Hammond organ player Booker T. Jones, bass player Louis Steinberg, who was replaced by Donald Duck Dunn soon thereafter, who was also a member of the Blues Brothers, and drummer Al Jackson Jr. As a house guitarist, he played on many recordings, such as Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, co-written with and performed by Otis Redding and Sam and Dave's Soul Man, and which he was mentioned by name. Of course, the Blues Brothers' Soul Man was their big cover. When Cropper played on the song's remake by the Blues Brothers, lead singer John Belushi again mentioned Cropper. On the early Stax recordings, he's known to have played a '56 Fender Esquire and later used a blonde Fender Telecaster. Now, at this time, his success was not limited to the States. The Beatles favored Cropper's playing and his production on Otis Redding Records. John Lennon and Paul McCartney made tentative plans to record in Memphis and to work with guitarists. However, Brian Epstein canceled the session, citing security problems. Along with influential work with Booker T and the MGs, he co-wrote Knock on Wood with Eddie Floyd, In the Midnight Hour with Wilson Pickett, and Sitting on the Dock of the Bay with Otis. In '69, Cropper released his first solo album, With a Little Help from My Friends. Now, when he left Stax in the fall of 1970, the label lost one of the most successful producers and songwriters. From there on, he worked with many musicians, including Tower of Power, Rod Stewart, John Prine, Jose Feliciano, the Jeff Beck Group, Ringo Starr, and John Lennon. Now, by '75, Cropper had moved to LA and along with Jones, Jackson, and Dunn, reformed Booker T and the MGs. Jackson, whom Cropper called the greatest drummer ever to walk the earth, was murdered in his Memphis home before the group could make the comeback. In '78, Cropper and Dunn became members of Levon Helm's RCO All-Stars and won their figure prominently in the Blues Brothers Band with drummer Willie Hall. This led to 2 albums, appearances in 2 movies, and he also re-recorded Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, '79, with Sammy Hagar. Now, he has performed throughout the world, and eventually he was inducted along with Booker T, the MGs, in '92 in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, he also appeared at Bob Dylan's 30th anniversary concert. Now, in '96, he was named the greatest living guitar player by Britain's Mojo magazine. When asked what he entitled Cropper, the guitarist Keith Richards said, "Perfect, man." In February '98, he released the interview play it, Steve, which includes some soul music, more enduring songs. Now, again, he worked with Eric Clapton quite often. Now, unfortunately, he passed away on December 3rd, 2025. Cause of death was not immediately known. A few days before, he was at a rehab facility in Nashville recovering from a recent fall. So he's passing, ladies and gentlemen, at the age of 84. What a void that's going to leave in rock and roll, because his writer, producer, performer, tremendous. Now, Grammy Awards, multiple nominations. 67, Best Rhythm and Blues Recording for Trial and Tenderness, and Best Rhythm and Blues Group Recording for Hip Hugger. Grammy, he won Sitting on the Dock of the Bay for Best Rhythm and Blues Song. Grammy Awards 94, Best Pop Instrumental Performance, 1 for Cruising. 95 Grammy Awards, Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal, Change is Gonna Come. 2008, Best Pop Instrumental Performance, Love Appetite. And 2022, Best Contemporary Blues Album. And many albums over the years. A lot of work in the 2000s, actually. He took a break for 16 years, and but came back heavy into the 2000s. Collaborated with Alabama, Jimmy Barnes, William Bell, Barbie Benton of all people, Big Stars, Stephen Bishop, Frank Black, Bobby and the Midnights, Booker T and the MGs, and numerous albums. Ronnie Baker Brooks, Jimmy Buffett, Billy Burnett, Brian Cadd, the Cake, the Brothers, Chicago, David Clayton Thomas, A.J. Croce, Patty Dahlstrom, Delaney and Bonnie, Ned Donnie, Yvonne Elliman, Jose Feliciano, Peter Frampton, Art Garfunkel, Levon Helm, Chris Hellman of the Byrds, of course, Etta James, Winona Judd, Albert King, B.B. King, Al Cooper, John Lennon in a rock and roll album, and Margaret in their 2023 album, McCoo and Davis, Craig Morton, Aaron Neville, Wayne Newton, Harry Nilsson, John Oates, Roy Orbison, Dolly Parton, Wilson Pickett, of course, John Prine, Otis Redding, 7 albums, Bruce Roberts, Leon Russell, Sanford and Townsend, Leo Sayer, Neil Sedaka, Paul Schaefer, Paul Simon, Percy Sledge, the Staples sisters, Mavis Staples, Ringo Starr, 2 albums in the 70s, 1 in the 90s, Rod Stewart, Livingston Taylor, Carla Thomas, Vicky Thomas, Tower of Power, Manhattan Transfer, and appeared in the 2 Blues Brothers movies. So, ladies and gentlemen, what a talent, ladies and gentlemen. He'd be greatly missed. You got to understand, rock and roll is only good as your session players. But he was a writer, producer, performer, and let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a chance to look at the Blues Brothers, what stands out for me is not only his beard, he's tall guy, very statuesque. A good sense of humor, you have to be. And I know he could have, Otis passing away, can you imagine the work he would have done with Otis, all the songs he would have written together? Tremendous. Again, one of the greatest rock and rollers of all time. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you're doing here, we're Behind the Tracks tributes. Let us know in a like, comment, subscribe, or share.